Welcome back to Hobby Hobbits. Today we're again doing a bit of a unique video. It's a tournament report that I did. Me and Will were there quite a few months ago. I just didn't get around to filming this. I was having some issues with my computer and moving and everything, so it's out now. But yeah, so Will and I went to a tournament, just a local tournament at our Warhammer store a few months ago. It was a 400 point tournament. Yeah, this was before the Armies and Legacies came out, so it was a bit older. But yeah, just wanted to share how it went and talk to you about how I found the list. So what I brought to this tournament was Defenders of Helm's Deep. It's a list that I don't have much experience with. I did take this, I think it was the exact list on the channel again quite a few months ago. It was a 400 point game of Defenders of Helm's Deep against Birder's Horde. Similar list to what Will took, but he changed it up. But it was Birder's Horde that he took to the tournament. So what the list entailed, you'll see it on the screen. It's Theoden, King of Rohan, with heavy armor and shield. 7 Warriors of Rohan with shield and throwing spear. 6 Warriors of Rohan with shield. 3 Galadhrim Warriors with elf bow. Then Legless, just plain Legless, with 3 Warriors of Rohan with shield and 5 Galadhrim Warriors with elf bow. So the idea behind it is it's low points, 26 models, so we can hit them really hard with 7 throwing weapons and 11 elf bows because of Legless. Hit them really hard early so that the numbers are pretty even, or even having an advantage once we get into the once the lines clash. And then be able to whittle down my opponent from there, continuing with Legolas and Theoden putting a bit of work. So yeah, that's the list. I thought it was a solid list. I thought it was pretty scary for 400 points. I wanted to see how it went. The weaknesses definitely are lack of mobility. That really showed. You do have marked on Theoden, but lack of mobility was pretty big. And the troops, the Warriors of Rohan, not great troops. They're well below average. Decent for the points, except if you have throwing weapons, which makes them 9 points. So they're not wonderful, but they were solid. So game 1, I was paired against Sheldon, who in my opinion is one of the best players in our local community here. You've seen him on the channel. He's actually, I think, done 3 games, and I don't think he's lost yet, both against Will and I. So very good player. He was playing Goblin Town, so he had a horde of goblins. The one saving grace was it was to the death. So I have 11 bow shots firing, multiple turns at him, that could just wreck his D3 front line, whole army basically. And then hopefully, I was hoping that the numbers would be even enough by the time we got into combat. So started off, he was up on the left corner of the screen there. I was sort of protected by a wall, but also had a line to the left of that. Right away, I had to shift my wall over a little bit just because the way that he positioned, because I had to move first. So that's why I have the guys sort of out in no man's land by the wall. So I had to reposition them first, which led to actually 2 turns of quite bad shooting. I only killed like 1 or 2 guys in the first 2 turns of shooting. And then after that, once he got a little bit closer, I killed I think almost 10 in 1 turn. And then I pulled back a little bit further and just unloaded it again with throwing spears again as well, and got another bunch of kills too. So I killed, I think it was close to 18 or so before the lines clashed. So I was really happy, really confident going into the turn 1 of combat. But you can't really see it too well in the pictures because I took them a bit late. But my front line, I had a few guys. Well, I had my spear wall, but his spear wall hit mine and just decimated. I think it was 4 of the guys in front of my 7 spears. So my main wall just got crushed, and that was near Theoden, which was on my left flank. And so he sort of had a really good opportunity to go after Theoden because I had so few models there. Thankfully, after the course of a few turns, I was able to whittle his D3 guys down and and I was able to get the 7-5 victory. But it was literally one turn away. I quartered him by one model, so one turn away, he probably would have killed Theoden. He was out of might, literally all alone on the side. Actually, I had one guy nearby. And Sheldon says that he had a misplay as well, because I think he could have barged into Theoden or something like that, which would have probably killed Theoden. So it was a very close game. Yeah, very, very, very tight. Sort of won that off the skin of my teeth, even though I think that's the best matchup for me against that army. So it was a very fun game, though. Sheldon played great, as always. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. So game 2 paired me against Tony. I believe he was running just the regular Minas Tirith list. So he had like Faramir on horse, and Denethor, yeah, so it was the regular Minas Tirith list, with a bunch of knights, some Citadel Guard, and some bowmen and some warriors. Not Citadel Guard, sorry, Guards of the Fountain Court. We were playing Destroy the Supplies, which I was pretty happy with, because that meant he probably had to come to me, and I just could shoot him to bits and hopefully shoot him off his cavalry, shoot off Faramir, whatnot. I was pretty happy with it. I lined up so I could make advantage of this like fortress thing right in front of my supplies, and I set off some guys to my right flank to try to catch some supplies. He didn't protect them early enough, so I was actually able to sneak through and get to his supplies with those 6 guys and already start off the game with a huge advantage. So in this situation, I got the supplies and I was like, okay, great, that's, I believe, 4 victory points. If he breaks me and the game ends, I win. That was my thought process on it. And so I was like, okay, as soon as I got the supplies, I'll rush up, because he was hiding most of his warriors. So I was like, okay, I'll rush up and attack him, probably, hopefully break, maybe get another supplies, protect mine with my archers in the back, and then I was like, yeah, if he breaks me and the game ends, perfect, no worries. Where he was hiding his troops away from my archers, he moved it later. You can actually see in this photo where he's holding it. I believe this is when I noticed my game just ended, or I just lost, was because he brings out a banner. And I was like, oh no. I made a grave error, because the banner's 4 victory points, so if he breaks me, he is winning, we are not tied. So then I had to get another another supply to destroy, or break him as well, or wound his leader or something. But the guys that I sent to the front wasn't enough to really do much damage. It was just there to break and die and hopefully the game end, and get to the point where the game ended. But I just didn't. I sent too few guys, and so I tried to pull in some of my archers to get into combat as soon as I could. It was just too little too late. He crushed that side, made a break with Faramir for my back objectives. Thankfully, I was able to stop it, super fortunately. It was super close. I had to do heroic combat with just Legolas to get into, actually Legolas on 1, I think it was, to stop Faramir from getting one objective. So I cut off some of the victory points that he could have had, but he still beat me 7-5, so I lost 5-7, because he had the banner, he broke me, and I wasn't broken at all. So, he broke me, I didn't break him at all. So, huge error on my part. I should have stayed back and just keep whittling him down. I would have had a much better scenario if that was the case, but I just made a really bad decision to throw up all of my warriors of Rohan and like try to break, or like I just thought I was in a good position to just win on that point. But that was just a grave error. Very much learned what not to do in that scenario now. But very well played to Tony. He hid his units where he needed to, and he came out at the right time to catch my guard coming up. So good on Tony. That's why if your opponent has a banner, remember that they have a banner. That was unfortunate. But yeah, it was a fun game. Very fun game. All right, so 1-1 after 2 games. And so then I go into a game against Caden. who's playing Lertz Scouts. It's actually my army. You've seen it on the channel. I let him borrow it for the tournament. He's a newer player. Very good. He's a very intelligent person who like picked up on the rules really quickly. So new player, but like quite good, and I was a bit worried about the game. But Lertz Scouts, so Lertz and Ugluk, spattering of Urukai, no banner. But yeah, it was like 20 some models, so hard to break, hard to outfight, especially at this points value, and just the movement's terrifying. So his domination, so I was hoping I could shoot him out pretty good to start because he's E5. So I pulled my line back quite on deployment to protect my 2 objectives. I was hoping to get a flanking force to outmaneuver him at the end. So that was my game plan, and it turned out great in turn 1 because I was able to kill, I think, 2 or 3 guys and Ugluk in turn 1 of shooting. So instantly I was like, okay, now he has 3 might, I have 6. I'm doing really good. I thought it was in a good spot. I got a good line in the middle where my spear wall was, and then just had to have some elves on the flank and hope to jump over and basically collapse onto him. But that didn't fully happen. I tried to kill Lertz as things were panning out, but Lertz just kept staying alive, had guys surround him. He would win roll-offs, shield me out. The heroic comets didn't do much, which I knew I had to shut down the heroic comets, otherwise he just would have won the game just through free heroic combats. But I was able to tie him up a bit, but he still just stayed alive. I believe, I don't know exactly if he killed Legolas, but like it just, my troops got munched by Rohan, or by his scouts. My elves got destroyed. My warriors got destroyed. I was able to pick off one of his units off an objective with Legolas, but that was about it. He hit the others, so I couldn't shoot them off from my deployment zone. So he was able to beat me actually 15-3. So he crushed me. I don't even think I broke him by the end of it, just because of the 1/4 or the 33% rule, not the 50% rule off the Lertz Scouts breaking point. So really well played by him, especially losing Ugluk right away. He was still able to, he monitored his might early and still tried to use heroic combats. He kept Lertz alive with some good shielding, and he did really good. He did what he needed to do. I think on my front line, I should have had my elves with my spears behind him, and then shielded with a bunch of just regular warriors on the sides. I think that would have been much more effective than what I did. So I think that's where my biggest error was. I think deployment, I think I did fine because I killed Ugluk turn 1. So like, I think I set that up well, but once the lines clashed, that was where my issues were. And that's sort of what I was realizing at this point, where I need to play my army differently. Game 1 almost ended poorly because I didn't realize how poor my army was in a line-to-line combat against goblins. Same thing, that's why I lost Minas Tirith game, because I just didn't realize that my army was so weak as a line, basically. And then this one, same thing. I tried to use them as a line and just didn't really do too much. So I adjusted a little bit for the next game, but that's one of the big things I learned about using Defenders of Helm's Deep. The front line is incredibly weak. You have to use those elves really well in combat and not just in shooting. And that's one thing I felt, at least at this points level, that was a big factor. But yeah, so I'm 1-2 after the first 3 games. Game 4 was against Bram, who was playing Garrison of Ailion. So basically Faramir, Damrod, Madril, against with some Rangers and just some Warriors of Minas Tirith. I think he had a 1 or 2 knights in there too. So solid list, but pretty poor matchup into Defenders of Helm's Deep because I outshot him really well. And like with Legolas and just with his Rangers being D4, I just could win them really easily. So I tried to set up a bit of it was a Fog of War as well. I tried to set up a bit of a shooting match, which he rightfully panned away from. Was able to keep most of his guys alive in that situation. And so yeah, so I had Legless on one side, trying to get that shooting war, which my opponent rightly changed direction from that, and had Theoden on the other side, just trying to get a bit of a line brawl basically, but with some shots first to try to whittle him down. We were able to meet at like a center point, and it felt like this game, it just like the combats just went my way. I think he had to engage me a bit too early because of the shooting threat. So he engaged a bit too early, and I was able to wrap around and get a bunch of good traps. I did some pretty good heroic combats that got me further in, got me to kill my target. Like it was I got into a good spot pretty early on just with some heroic combats because my opponent just had to go too early into the fight basically. But yeah, I think I was able to kill my threat or kill my target, keep my target alive, which was pretty fortunate. He was almost able to kill him, but not quite. And my line just sort of crunched him pretty well. And that wasn't because my line was great. It was just because I was able to get a bit of a wrap into the side because he had to engage in an optimal time. So this game, I felt like I played my list well, used the shooting as a threat to force my opponent into into a disadvantaged state, and then was able to basically flank and win the combats from there. I also used a bunch of hero combats to get into better spots too. So that game was a 15-4 victory for me, which that one I was happy with. I felt like I finally figured out how to play my army, I think, in that game, which it's good after 4 or 5 games of experience. But that was the end of that game, end of the tournament too, because it was just a four game tournament. So yeah, I finished 2-2 with Defenders of Helm's Deep. Definitely thought I could do better than that, just because I think it's a really strong list. What I didn't really realize going into the tournament, this list takes a lot more skill and a lot more like knowing how to use Rohan warriors than I knew how to do. So I felt like I didn't play them well, which cost me 2 of the games. So yeah, it was definitely a big learning experience, but it was a ton of fun. Those tournaments are always fun. I finished like middle of the table. But yeah, the winner is always the same guy apparently. We'll have to, hopefully we'll get him on the channel sometime so you guys can see how he does. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think Will went 2-2 as well. But yeah, it was a good time. Hope you guys enjoyed sort of seeing how Defenders of Helm's Deep do and seeing what not to do. That's sort of more of what this video is, because I made a bunch of mistakes with them. But yeah, it was still a lot of fun, and it was a great learning experience. So yeah, thanks for watching. Take care.